keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio, once again with your host Nick Burnaby here on UCY.tv. Make sure you guys check out all the other awesome hosts here on UCY as well. We have hosts from all over the political spectrum and all kinds of cool, unique voices that are, putting out information that's normally not available to us. So, this crap that we see on TV, whether it's right wing or left wing, we're just trying to look for a middle ground here and bring people together instead of, trying to divide people, which is what the mainstream stuff has been doing. And we're going to have our co-host on in a few minutes once we get our call center working, because it's not working right now. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into this stuff. Before we get him on, we got tons of news coming out this week, and there's just, you name it. The whole world, it seems like, is just boiling over. But to me, there is some light that shines through, and if anyone wants to call in and join us, feel free. The number is 718-717-8296. And you can call in and talk with me and DB about what's going on, what you're thinking about, if you think we're taking the wrong stance on something or whatever it is. We're definitely open to ideas and different perspectives, because that's what it's all about. Civil discourse, finding a middle ground. I talked to some people today that were up at the Marietta protests, and they were saying, yeah, there's the anti-immigration side and the pro-immigration side, but when it comes down to it, there's a lot of common ground there, and people just don't realize it because we're so divided by the media. But that's our job. That's our job as people that understand what's going on to make a difference and call it out, and say, hey, that's BS, that's bullshit, whatever it is, whatever it may be. And of course we're going to have disagreements on things, but the disagreements is what should bring us together, because we can all disagree on a lot of things. But the what we can all agree on is that we all should be able to freely and peacefully be able to disagree without worrying about getting thrown into a prison cage, getting kidnapped, or getting killed, or whatever it is, and that's really what it comes down to for me is trying to bring the most amount of freedom to the most amount of people. Now it doesn't always work out that way, and unfortunately, a lot of things that go on in the world are done under the guise of a good cause or whatever, but unfortunately it doesn't always work out that way, and a lot of times things are done prematurely, and it just ends wrong. It ends badly. So I'm trying to get this call center going, but it doesn't seem to be working for me. I'm gonna have to get DB to host a call here. Currently, my Skype is down on my home network, so I'm doing it through my phone right now. But we'll figure this thing out in a few minutes here. But I guess the biggest story, of course, besides Iraq. Now, it seems to me like the whole entire Middle East is just boiling over right now, and now we're boiling over here in our own country. The border crisis, immigration crisis. I mean, think about how bad it's got to be for these people to go out and risk their necks to go across all this way from Central America through Mexico, and they risk being arrested in Mexico. And the ones that actually make it through, they have to cross through the desert or hide in a car tire or whatever to get here. But think about how bad it's got to be down there for this thing to happen. It's just absolutely wild to think that people are willing to go through these amount of hardships just to get here. So you have to wonder, okay, well, what the hell's going on down there for them to want to leave? Well, you got a bunch of instability. You got a bad economy. You got turf wars going on through the drug cartels and the gangs. And then you got this drug war, and this huge demand for drugs. I heard this guy speaking earlier. His name was Enrique Morones. He's a big immigration advocate, and he was saying that we represent about 4%, 5% of the world's population. Yet at the same time, we consume about half of the world's drugs. And we wonder, well, why is it so violent down there? Well, because drugs are illegal down there. Distributing drugs are illegal, so anyone that's moving drugs has to do it violently. And they are the ones that are reaping this blowback from all of our bad policy. So it's one of these things where a lot of what's going on at the border and a lot of this instability down in Central America. It's caused by us. Now, we can't forget that we've overthrown no less than 17 different governments in Latin America, whether we're talking about Colombia, South America. I think we're actually still funding some Colombian elements down there. I mean, it's just so bad. It's just so wrong what we've done. We've gone in and toppled elected governments just to secure resources, one time over bananas, believe it or not. And it's just ironic that people are saying, oh, send these people home, they have no business here. Well, guess what? That government that we all elected, or your parents elected, or whatever, they are the ones that did this. So it's like, how can we turn these people away when we're the ones that caused the problem? I'm gonna try to fix this this Skype situation here. I'm gonna try to get in touch with Jules so that we can try to host this thing so that my co-host can come on. I can do the show by myself if I need to, but I prefer to have DV on here because he's got a different perspective than I do, and it's nice to have try to find some middle ground on these things and have some different ideas bouncing back and forth. But if we can't get him on, then we can't get him on, and the show will go on. All right, looks like Jules is going to try to host it here. Let's hope that the Skype isn't down worldwide or whatever here. All right, guys, I'm gonna go down for about a minute or so. Don't leave. I'm going down for a minute so that we can get our network up and get both of our hosts on here. 1 second. Hey, DB, you there?
Yep. How's everybody doing? Looks like we got on finally.
Yeah, man. It looks like there may be some kind of worldwide Skype something or other going on here, but
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's not good.
Yeah. my cell phone is working, but my computer isn't. So, and apparently there's some problem at the server and stuff like that. But as far as I can tell, we're online now and people can hear us. I think I've been in and out here for a few minutes. But, yeah, man, I was just talking about how I got some other news here, a little bit of more lighthearted stuff to cover, but I figured we might as well jump into this stuff now that we got this delay. All this blowback, basically, which is coming back to haunt, whether it's at border with all of our foreign policy blunders down south and our drug war, or whether we want to talk about Israel, Palestine, Iraq, Syria, Ukraine. I mean, you name it. I mean, all these countries are just burning right now, man, and there's just so much tension. To me today, it was like, well, you know, is it that everyone hates each other now, or is it that people are finally catching on to what the hell's going on, and then these dudes that are afraid of losing power are just pulling out all the stops? And I'm thinking that it's the latter.
Yeah, and I think what's going on, dude, even crazier as it seems, is that there's probably been 3, 4, 5, however many competing factions, right, that have been trying to control the world, more or less. And this one faction got on top of everybody else. But then I think everybody else kind of figured out what their plans for them and all of humanity were, and decided that it needed to be stopped by any means. And what you see is what's going on right now. Crazy enough as it sounds, I think we have that Captain America, that new movie. I think we have that situation going on now. Except the rest of the people in the world are going to start trying to boot these criminals out, man, because they're bad news for everyone. It doesn't matter how rich or powerful you are. If they get an army of autonomous robots or drones or what have you up in the sky, or whatever they decide they want to use, well, it's lights out for everyone.
Yeah, man. And, you know, to me, it definitely seems like that it is the second option there. I don't think that everyone just hates each other all of a sudden. I don't think that everyone's just going wild and going crazy and losing it. In fact, I think religions and stuff are losing their power. I don't think they're getting stronger. I don't think that all this tension going on in the Middle East, like they're trying to tell us, is all based on religion and stuff. It's people finally getting ready to stand up against fascism, and they're of course going to be painted in a negative light. Now, I'm not saying that ISIS is not a terrorist group, or that Hamas is not a destructive group, or anything like that. But you have to understand, these are natural occurrences when we talk about oppressive government. When you make oppressive government, when you have fascist policies, guess what? There's going to be blowback. And our country, by now, it's just unbelievable that we haven't figured out this blowback stuff yet, you know, and it's just absolutely horrible what's going on. How many people have to lose their lives? I mean, there's been, hundreds of missiles launched into Palestine now.
160 missiles were launched at the Gaza Strip. Last count was 48 casualties and over 100 wounded. And, of course, they can't get any treatment, so they're probably going to perish as well. And, I mean, some of these pictures and even these videos of these children that have been seriously injured and are not dead is the worst thing you'll see, man, because these little kids are in awful pain. There's no medical supplies for them. They're completely innocent of anything that's been going on. And here's the human cost, the toll, the representation of when a technologically superior group decides to more or less take care of a problem on its border. And this is just, it's insane irony. Why would a Jewish state ever do this on any other people, going what they've been, going what they went through? It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, exactly, man. And there's a quote out there by Einstein. I'm sure it's bogus, but it's very real, man. It's like he basically says, how can a group of people that suffered through the Holocaust turn around and only a few years later go and repeat the same crimes that were committed against them. But then the other thing that you have to understand, and I guess that I'm starting to realize, is that especially in the older groups of the Israelis that are still around from those times, I mean, they got radicalized as well because of what happened to them from Hitler and from the Nazis. So understandably, they may be a bit on the extreme side of, self-defense and stuff like that. Right. That's understandable.
And what's little known to many people, too, is that how important a role the Arab world played in providing Hitler's war machine with oil. People don't get that. People don't get that the Holocaust and all the things that happened in World War II weren't possible without several sheiks pretty much siding with Hitler's ideology and giving him oil for pittance. I mean, you're talking about a tank for 10,000 gallons of fuel or something stupid, you know what I mean, where they just give them a showpiece so they had something to guard their imperial palace, and they gave them enough oil for an entire fleet. People don't realize that. So there's a deep, deep hatred, and it goes way... It's like Japan and China. People ask, why is there saber rattling? Because Manchuria is the most horrible thing, even worse than the Holocaust. And these things, they reverberate throughout generations.
Yeah, man, and then we look back and we look back at all these horrific things that have happened, and once again, back to the root of it all, it's the sociopaths that aggregate power. They take the form of government and corporations, and then they throw their people, which are mostly innocent. I mean, most of the Japanese during World War II, yeah, you had a bunch of these nationalistic dudes running the military and stuff, but most of the Japanese were just innocent people. They wanted nothing to do with it. And if they knew what the hell what their soldiers were doing to the people in China, they probably would have stopped the war then as well. But here's the thing, man, and we're seeing it right now in the mainstream, not even the mainstream, the corporate media here, whether we're talking about the U.S. media or the English media or the Australian media, any of these crown, former crown properties. They are completely shilling for Israel. It's absolutely insane. I mean, they're acting like Israel is the one that's getting beat up right now. When I can't even remember the last time a person actually died by getting hit by one of these rockets that were coming out of Gaza. When was the last time Hamas actually hit a guy? It's been a long time. But these airstrikes that Israel is doing on Palestine are very precise. They got drones. They got all the surveillance. They've got jets. They've got precision-guided missiles. In fact, they even got nuclear capabilities. So, I mean, it's not even a fight. I mean, this isn't a fight between two armies. It's a fight between one army and then one ragtag militia group that is being the scapegoat for all this massive amounts of military campaigning. It's absolutely wild. It's absolutely insane. And for the people that watch too much TV, they really do believe it. They really think that Israel is the victim here. I mean, it's hard to fathom, but it's just that people just don't have the facts.
They are, but it's proportionate, and it's like saying this: if you're, a full-grown adult and a 3-year-old child comes up and kicks you in the ankle, do you take him up and punt him somewhere and kill him with brain damage? I mean, this is the proportionate response. It's like you're going to lob some missiles over and some RPGs and some rockets. And they'll hit, and have people died? Sure. And have there been terrorists, suicide bombings, and people going into planes and buses and blowing themselves up? Yes, sure. But what you have right now is this population of 2 million people can't get out, and they're in a war zone of supposed precision, but there's no such thing as a precision hellfire. We've said it time and time again. A drone is an indiscriminate killing machine with a massive radius. I mean, when they hit one guy, like 5, 10, 20 people die, and then they double tap it. There's no, sniper action going on where they're precision hitting guys. They're just, it's wanton destruction. It's shock and awe and terror, and it's just making the situation untenable. And then what's happening is ISIL is going to use this as an excuse, man. Why we're going to go liberate the Palestinians?
Yeah, man. It's just a bad situation. I mean, it all ties in here. We got Syria still going off the rails. Couple million refugees. We think that our few thousand here coming across monthly is bad. people think that's bad. We're talking about millions of people. There's 1 million displaced out of Iraq now. And all these countries around in the surrounding areas having to absorb it. And now, believe me, you think that these rednecks in Marietta are bad, that are turning these buses around with these
they're not even
children?
rednecks. These are golf course, trust fund people, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are the people who had wealthy parents and went out there to maximize their money and get a big house for $500,000 instead of $1 million. You know what I'm saying? This is the community it is. I know a lot of people that moved up there and in Temecula, and I've been there many a time, and they really have no right. If nobody down here is saying anything, shut up. We're good. We can absorb them. We have way bigger fish to fry. This is just another distraction for the mindless flocks of the sheeples, and this is all it is. And when I tell people this, when I try to call them on this, they get all defensive. Oh, it's our do we have any sovereign rights if we don't have a border and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we haven't had a border forever. Do we have a Great Wall of America? Nobody's keeping people in or out either way. Everybody that goes through a border checkpoint is just like a law-abiding citizen. But if you need to get over without going through proper means, it's been easy forever. So this is just a ridiculous sham.
Yeah, man, it's just like the Iron Curtain in Eastern Europe. A lot of people are able to get through. They find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. You keep driving it underground. There's going to be more and more smuggling, more and more people dying in the desert, more and more problems. So, I mean, the country needs to just wake up and smell the coffee, man. I mean, it's time to...
Give them the desert. Seriously. That desert has so much sun that if you gave, I don't know, a guy who's coming up with his family enough solar panels for power, I'm sure he can till the fields and plant crops and make all the good... I mean, you know what I mean? We have so much empty space. Our whole deserts are unused, untapped. The solar power is immense. So there's places for these people. There's uses for everyone. The problem is, like always, the labor, the intellectual property rights, everything else gets driven up top. Nobody has anything left, and then, of course, now everyone's competing for scraps. But we should be getting together now and co-opting everything. I mean, an influx of immigrants, to me, is an opportunity. These people are not indoctrinated. They haven't been brainwashed since youth by our television. These people can actually make a change here.
Yeah, exactly, man. They're assets, dude, and they're fleeing bad government. So they already understand. They're coming into this thing understanding, look, big government is a big problem. And they understand that all this violence doesn't make any sense. That's why they're trying to get away from it. And that's why, to me, like you were saying, these are the people that I think we should be looking at as allies and assets.
This is the new Libertarian Party, Nick. I'm telling you, they have Republican parents for the most part. People think that immigrants are Democrats, but they're not, man, because there's a Latino work ethic, and they side more with people that want to have their own businesses. They don't want a handout. It's everything contradictory to what the Democratic Party is for the most part on a social issues level, and they're going to become libertarian because they're going to come over, see their parents struggling under this system, and now want the most freedom they can get, period, because freedom favors those that work the hardest and the smartest, and they always are going to do the hardest, right? We see them doing all the worst jobs. So that's what's going to happen, man. This is going to be a backlash they haven't anticipated.
Yeah, man, and the two big parties are in for trouble. Of course, we've been seeing the polling numbers. There was even an article on, I think, Wall Street Journal the other day that said 2016 may be a big year for independents, just because there's so many people disaffected with this whole left-right nonsense. And now the other thing we have to remember is that the whole left-right paradigm, most of the people aren't buying into that crap anymore, but yet at the same time the media is still perpetuating all these myths of this: everybody's a Republican, everybody's a Democrat, half and half, and that's it. For obvious reasons, because that's their control structure and all that stuff. But it's falling to the wayside, and I think that's why we're seeing all these major distractions, this immigration distraction, and then we have all these real tragedies, these real huge worldwide problems. they're real, but they're manufactured. And that's the other thing we have to know is that these guys are causing these disruptions in society. They're causing everyone to be scared because they're scared themselves. They're scared of losing their power, so they got to send us off in this hamster wheel of fear and hate, and convince us that the boogeyman is somewhere on the other side of the world in a cave wearing a turban on his head, but the real boogeyman is sitting right there, man, right there in D.C., right there in New York, on Wall Street, and in the Congress and in the Capitol, man. These are the real monsters. These are the real terrorists. Government has killed something like 140 million people in the last 200 years. This is the real problem. And the only thing that's killed more than government is mosquitoes. And they're both basically the same thing. They're both parasites.
The Black Plague, right? And I heard they just reverse engineered the Black Plague. Did you hear about that, Nick?
Yeah, man, I heard about that.
They weaponized the bubonic plague, and they said it's good for 400 million people. I guess that's considered a death blow if a country with a lot of people attack us, and we all know where that's going.
Yeah. All this scientific experimenting and stuff is a lot of it's good, a lot of it's sinister, a lot of it came from Nazi scientists and stuff, Operation Paperclip, all that good stuff. You can Google that. No, I got this other story here that I wanted to jump into. We got this. Apparently, there's this problem with now they're blaming the high chicken prices on this. Cock, I guess they're called, infertility. And according to the New York Post, one of the nation's most popular rooster breeds, the Aviagen Group's standard Ross male, has a man-made genetic flaw that's crippling its baby-making skills and contributing to a price spike up to $1.50 a pound in New York City. Jesus. Farmers and data reveal. Yeah, so basically, not only are we getting nailed with this inflation, which I think we talked about on the last show, and prices are up for basic commodities that we all actually consume. I'm not talking about stock market commodities. I'm talking about food, water, electricity, the stuff that we actually use. The prices are up basically across the board. Fuel, gas, all that stuff. Add to that, I mean, most of that is caused by inflation and stuff. Now we got this chicken that I don't know where this man-made genetic flaw came from. I don't know if it was genetically modified or if it was just bred into it over the years or whatever. Like kind of how they breed dogs to where they can.
Was it the feed, the GMO feed that's passed generationally and now it's given up the ghost? I mean, you've heard how they tried to make a malaria-free mosquito, right? And now there's dengue fever breaking out in Brazil like no other, right? Right when the World Cup's going on, too. How convenient so that everybody that's there can bring it home everywhere around the world when they go home.
I know, man, and it just none of it makes any sense.
Well, it does when you understand that there's people on their last gasps who have run the world effectively for the last couple thousand years, and the end's here because, well, the cat got out of the bag with the internet. And enough people know now, enough people are sure now that they just can't keep doing what they're doing. And they're getting, like you said, man, they're getting desperate. And I'm sure if all of us can survive the next 30, 40, 50 years when things get declassified, we're going to find out all these dirty tricks, and, man, our whole world's going to be turned upside down.
Yeah, man. These guys are in their death throes. I definitely agree with that. And yeah, I'm looking at the article now. Apparently, yeah, these guys found a genetic trait through genetic testing, and then they just exploited this gene, basically. And a bunch of the people being interviewed are like, well, hey, I'm not as worried about the food prices. I am worried about finding out that this damn chicken has been genetically manipulated. And people are like, wow, I didn't know that. I'm probably not going to eat very much chicken anymore. But
yeah, man, it's getting to the point now where, like, I'm starting to not get produce or meats if it's not from farmer market anymore. Like, I'm loading up when I'm there. I'm noticing what I'm spending. I'm rationalizing it in my mind that I feel better and I'm losing weight and I'm not going to need to go to the doctor. And it's the only way that I can eat something now and not just get the digestion pangs. You know what I mean? It's to the point now where I'm so sensitive to these things. Like if I were to go get like McDonald's, I'd probably be curled up in a ball. And it's just, I'm 35 and it's just been years and years and years of eating that garbage. And when I was younger, I didn't feel anything and I thought I was invincible, And eventually you hit that wall. But the food is awful. Our food supply is poisonous. From the packaging to the transport to the GMOs, the packaging leaks all over, BPA, everything plastic. I mean, man, you can't eat good unless you're eating local. It's just almost impossible now.
Yeah, man, and that's why we gotta, one of the most revolutionary acts is to grow your own food or figure out a way to get your food locally. That way you don't got to deal with this GMO damn chicken or this BT corn, which transfers the BT toxin into your body, which unfortunately Monsanto claimed that it didn't do that, but it does. Bioaccumulates BT, which is a biotoxin.
And does that cause sterility, Nick? Was there a link with that too? Because I think they were saying it damages the reproductive organs, and then it'll pass on a sterility trait within 2 generations or something. Was that the one with the mice?
I think the sterility of the hamsters came from Roundup Ready. Okay,
yeah, you're right. This is the one that slowly gives you like pancreatitis and stuff.
Yeah. And so the Roundup Ready corn, which is the other thing, and this may be leading. Not only are these chickens themselves genetically modified, but the food that we're feeding them is genetically modified, and then this Roundup Ready corn, which is a lot of what these chickens eat, has been shown in hamsters to cause infertility as well. So that may be compounding this problem. And then add that into this food inflation that is up like 10% or whatever this year. And we're in for a rough time when it comes to our food, man. And I know we talk about this so much, but the thing is that it's just so important. Victory gardens, these things that the gardens that they used to make propaganda for during World War II, where they were trying to get everybody to grow their own food because they were sending all the food over to fight the war. These are real things, man. And our government is spread so thin. We got guys in over 150 countries or something like that. All this foreign policy, no doubt, has another impact on our food. And the fact that we have to create this money out of thin air. Now, Obama's asking for $4 billion to deal with this immigration crisis. He's asked for $500 million to send over to Syria. We've sent a few billion over to Ukraine. I don't know how many millions, hundreds of millions, or whatever we've sent to Iraq so far since this whole thing started up. But all this money is not real money. It's got to be created out of thin air. Therefore, all the old money that everyone has sitting in their bank accounts or in their mattress or whatever, all that stuff gets worth less and less every time. So if you don't got the food growing on your property, you're going to be paying very, very high food costs, very, very high fuel costs. And the other thing is that it's also good to move into assets that can ride out the inflation, such as gold and silver, hard assets, farming equipment, things like that, useful items, things that have actual value, tools, skills, whatever it is, land, whatever you can get your hands on, co-ops.
And I think it's important also to note that a lot of these plans, you need to kind of be further away from like major city centers, because that's where they're going to set up these major, basically UN zones, dude. I mean, trucks are going to roll in, tents will be set up for all the displaced persons who pretty much have no money, so they're going to just have to go, they're going to have to go somewhere to get the food, and they can't even get to work because the gas station's not going to pump. And they're just going to have to wander into these big, giant cities they're setting up. You don't want to be there. If you can be out in the suburbs with enough garden and a little stockpile stored away and a nice bike and stay out of that whole debacle, because that's where, if you think the border is going to spread infectious disease, imagine those. I mean, that's going to really be probably where all these plastic coffins they've bought are going to be used, dude. As unfortunate as that's what happens when economies collapse. And when the Great Depression hit, same thing happened in the Tin Cities. They had even worse things back then. So yeah, man, you just need to have things set up in a suburb. You're actually probably in a good spot where you're at, but like if you're in the middle of a big city, I mean, or Manhattan or downtown LA or something, man. Just find a way to get out of there.
Exit strategy is huge. It's crucial, right? If you're in a highly populated area, there's going to be complete hell unleashed. When this economy does crash, who knows when it's going to be? I think it's going to be sooner than later. It could be 20 years from now. It could be 50 years from now. But the fact is that fiat currencies are finite. They've never, ever, ever survived eternally. I think the average lifespan for a fiat currency is something like 37 years. They normally die off a lot quicker than ours has, but then again, we have the largest military in the world where we cram the fiat system that we use down everybody's throat. But like we talked about on Monday, that could all be changing pretty soon here as Russia, China, India, and Brazil begin to move away from the dollar. And we're talking about the real powerhouse economies, because all these economies like us and, you know, Britain, most of the economies in Europe, they've already reached their apex years ago, and now they're all on the downturn. And so, you know, Germany, I think, is the only one that's on the right track where they're building all this solar and all this stuff. And coincidentally, or maybe not, their economy is doing better than the rest of Europe. But if you look at a place like Spain, France, Italy, I mean, look at their economy is done. Okay, and we're not far behind them. Greece, you know, all these people, they've let the central bankers destroy their economies. The same thing would have happened to us years ago had it not been for our gigantic military. And now this former monetary foreign policy that we used to subscribe to, we can't be blind and say that it's not going to come home to roost. I mean, we got, 13,000 MRAPs coming into the small town police departments, and now we got this small town.
They're expecting opposition, dude, and they're expecting a massive opposition, and they know they'll never be able to get a gun grab going because that'll start things with everyone on their side. Instead, they'll try to single out and divide and conquer again, and it's gonna be everybody against everybody. Now we can prevent it, of course, by continuing to keep spreading this word. So when things break down, people are like, "All right, we figured this was going to happen." That's the only thing we can do. Otherwise, it's just going to be this panic situation. And that's what the MRAPs are for, and that's why these guys have all these military hand-me-downs, dude. It's just, what are they going to do with them? What do you think? Why do you think they have them?
Now, we covered the story on the anti-media. Justin King, one of our awesome journalists, has been covering this MRAP and I think it's in the town that he lives in. But the first article he did went so viral that it actually caused a big discussion. They held a meeting in the town to go and talk about this thing. Now, unfortunately, the sheriff of the town has just come out and a couple days ago and said, "Hey, we don't really care what the hell any of you guys say. We don't care what the residents of the town say. We don't care if you don't like it. We're going to keep it. And that's just how it's going to be. And if you don't like it, too bad. Move the hell out." You know, and that's basically what the guy said. So, to think that these guys are going to just say, "Oh, well, yeah, let's go ahead and give up on the police state. Everyone's tired of it. All this NSA revelation. No one likes it. So let's just go ahead and give up on it." No, that's not what they're going to do. They're going to keep on making it worse until they can draw out enough people, and then they can say, okay, these are the people that are going to be a problem, and these are the people that are going to just do whatever the hell we say. And you got the Tories, just like back in the day in the times of the American Revolution, you had the Tories, and then you had the dudes that wanted to change things. And of course, at the beginning of things, the Tories are going to outnumber most of the other people. But then when you start to see what's happening, just like what's going on in Israel, man. Anyone that sits there and says, no, you know, Israel's the victim here, and you know, we need to defend them and stand with them as much. These are the Tories. These are the people that aren't going to question anything we do. They're not going to question the $30 billion that we send to Israel each year, while at the same time we can't even get the people that are hungry every night, 1 in 6 Americans, or maybe the couple 100,000 people in Detroit that are getting their water shut off. I mean, we can't even do that. We can send $30 billion to fascist regimes all around the world.
And let's be totally real about it. These are the exact same people who are completely plugged in, have zero prep, will become completely subservient to the government as soon as anything happens to disrupt their lives. But in the meantime, a lot of them are probably going to either be armed or find some way to get their hands on something, and then guess what? It's a free-for-all. So their vaunted trust in their mother hen government will be over soon enough, but they'll still go along with anybody who has a plan. And that's the whole problem, man. We're brain dead from chemical and societal poisoning. And it's been generational. It's taken 50, 60, 70 plus years for it to finally, germinate.
And it's taken root, man. It's taken deep root. And, the funniest part is that people get up in arms about the most minute things. For instance, Hobby Lobby, okay? This whole Hobby Lobby ruling. This is the things that people choose to get passionate about, whether or not a corporation is going to supply for contraceptives or not. And the people on one side are saying, yeah, they did the right thing. Corporations shouldn't be providing contraceptives. And then the people on the other side, no, they did the wrong thing. Corporations should be providing contraceptives. And I'm over here saying, hey, corporations shouldn't even exist. Why does the government create corporations? Corporation itself is welfare. If the government gives corporations special protection, that's welfare. Why aren't we talking about that welfare? But everyone's caught up on this superficial discussion that actually is only going to affect very, very few people. Yet at the same time, we let this corporate robbery take place, and hardly anybody's talking about that, man. And it's just it's completely sad.
And people depend on it for their jobs, and they can be fired at a whim. Yet they still hold some sense of a loyalty to these giant Fortune 500s that do provide this fake fiat currency to them so that they can continue to buy goods and services until they don't work any longer. And that's going to come soon. It's going to come very soon. So what do we do? What can we do in the meantime? I always say our focus should be breaking up all these massive monopolies. Then the unemployment will go away. We'll have competition. They're a real one, not a monopoly, and maybe we'll see actual advances in everything. Every industry can go up because the best people are going to actually try to get people underneath them, train them, and make a better product, like it used to be. So, man, that's just the easiest way we can do it. Or we can wait for this to collapse and dig out from underneath it. That doesn't sound cool to me.
No, man, it's not. It doesn't. A collapse of the economy, a collapse of the monetary system is not going to be friendly to many. Now, a few people are going to profit from it, probably. A few people are going to enjoy it, and then they're going to be trying to pick up the scraps and reform into some kind of new power structure, which will probably be even more regressive than the one that we got now, if you can believe that. But it's up to the citizens, man, to take the power back into their own hands, and that's what it's all about. Is this, autonomous movements, and this is kind of what's been going on down in Mexico. That's not being talked about very much, but this whole Zapatista movement, and these guys are the ones that are starting to figure things out. And they're starting to say, you know what, we don't need the government, we don't need these cartels, we don't need all this corruption. We need our community. We're going to form self-defense organizations for our own communities, and that's how we're going to run things. And I think these guys are onto something, man. I really think that they're in the right direction here, and it's something that's, to me, it's really encouraging after seeing all this other crappy bad news and all this stuff and all this this takeover of the economy and all that stuff. But to see people taking it back on their own through the community, man, it's really. It's really encouraging to me. And now the other thing that's encouraging about all this bad news and all this tension going on, all this boiling over of tensions, this whole powder keg that's become the whole center of the world, is that it shows that these people are scared and they're trying to cause all this chaos because they're scared of what's about to come. And that really truly gives me hope, even though it comes from bad news, but it gives me good hope that at least we're moving in the right direction here.
Yeah, and I mean, they're selling themselves now, Nick, because it's not so apparent anymore to our generation that we need them. We kind of figure that with the way that technology's been happening, where we can kind of automate almost anything. You know, the whole thing is the government is an administrative vehicle. It's there to be an organizational entity, and that's about it. Now, what it gets its hands into is left to the people's discretion. And of course, we always want a military so we can protect whatever territory we have for our way of life and our culture. But beyond that, it gets hazy. It's like, where do we want them sticking their nose in? And now they're in everything. Everything. And there's no longer a country. We're just a company, a corporation, and we are all subservient to it. Look at your birth certificate, and you'll see you have a banknote number on it, a stamp. So you've been collateralized, and if you want to pay that debt at some point, and if you can't, and you know you can't, because they'll come a-calling for it one day, then that's when serfdom and slavery and all these other things can be instituted legally, and people won't even bat an eye. They'll be so conditioned.
Yeah. I mean, it's coming down to it right now, I think. I don't think it's a long game here. I think now we're talking about the short game. And, I mean, to me, it's like we're getting trolled almost, and these guys pull off these, these legitimate tragedies, and they leave a couple discrepancies behind to try to bait people out and see who's going to question what. I mean, this police state is just getting out of hand. Now, we got this other story here that's also we also covered on the anti-media. So there's a 17-year-old boy that could be charged for child porn for sexting with his 15-year-old girlfriend. Now, that itself is wrong because the kid's only 17, the girlfriend's only 15. I mean, that's pretty much normal. But that's not the worst part. The cops are trying to force this kid into the hospital where they're going to inject him with Viagra or some other type of erection-inducing chemical, and they're going to try to take pictures of the kid's penis for evidence.
That's child pornography.
You can't make this stuff up, and apparently they've just secured the warrant to try to start pulling this thing off. Man, this is absolutely
every
wild.
Person in that county with a child should now understand that it is, if it's allowed to go through, that it makes it legal for police to sexually abuse, molest, and take advantage of your children because they can do it under the auspice of criminality. He was shoplifting, so therefore I had to give him a cavity search and fondle him. They can use it on anything, man. If you're going to allow a 17-year-old to have this happen to them, wait for it to happen to your own child and have nothing that you can do about it. Just like when the TSA does it to your child.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's absolutely wild. It's a total overstep of quote unquote justice.
And they'll ask for more money to fund it. Just like the TSA today decided that they're going to now charge you $5.60 with zero caps every time you fly into an airport and out. It used to be that it was capped at 10 and it was $2.50. So you see where they're going. It's a racket. They can now decide that they can charge you an unlimited amount of money for these new TSA fees. I mean, you're talking about airline tickets going up a massive amount. And for what? To fund a criminal organization.
Yeah, man, and there's just so many things piling up here. Like, we can't even cover it in 1 hour. We got the whole IRS scandal where they supposedly lost these emails, and then they destroyed the hard drives. I mean, this is just totally... I mean, you can't make this crap up. Now we got files from the UK, from England's role in the CIA rendition of people where they basically were kidnapping people and then taking them to where they, quote-unquote, renditioned them, where they basically tortured people, interrogated them at Diego Garcia. Now they're missing their files. Oh, sorry, guys, we lost our files. And it seems like, I mean, there's just time after time, tragedy after tragedy, bad news story after bad news story. I mean, these guys are trying to push us over the edge. They're trying to get people to start doing dumb things like shooting at cops in Vegas.
But they're not going to get people to do it en masse simply because they've just chemically destroyed anyone's will to do anything but be a mindless robotic zombie anymore. So in that way, they've kind of foiled themselves. The only people who have any real passion to do anything about it are usually aren't so stupid to be goaded into an ability for them to make a crisis and a disproportionate response like they've done so many times before with so many different groups. And if it's a huge portion of the population, 10, or dare I say even 20%, that finally is just like, man, this is enough, man. We got to change things. We're going to do it ourselves. We don't have to use violence. Violence is suicidal against our government, okay? Best way to change things, hearts and minds, everyone around us, because these dudes have families too, and a lot of them are good. They're not all evil people. And if we can change things inside and just make it such a corrosive environment for the sickos to work there and they'll be out of it, and we can just move on as a whole planet. We got to start it here.
Yeah, man, and definitely people within the government, people within the military, people in these places, just like Edward Snowden. Think about how many Snowdens are waiting in the wings right there at the NSA that are just tired of it, and they know what they're doing is wrong, and they're, itching to blow the whistle. But let's think about it. Who joins the government? I mean, you join the FBI for two reasons. Either you want to make money, or you think that you're doing it because you want to help people, or you want to help the country. So you join up for, semi-noble reasons, and then you get in there and find out it's a shit show. Then what? Well, guess what? Now you've made the career decision. You've overcommitted, and now you're going to be stuck working there for the next 20 years. And that's what a lot of these people are. Right. They're stuck in the military. They're stuck in the FBI. They're stuck in the NSA. But they're good people, man. They're genuinely good people in there. Sure. And at the right chance and the right opportunity, and if it seemed like they actually had a shot at winning, I mean, they would definitely disobey orders.
I think we got to get to this end game, Nick. We got to get it to the point where when this fiat currency does collapse, it's not going to lead to violent food riots or anything like that. We're going to just all group together en masse and head down to our city halls and our police stations and everything else and take the toilet paper money and throw it all over the street, just like at the end of Zeitgeist. And we're going to just be like, we've had enough. And you've had your chance. You know what I mean? It hasn't worked. You've led us to this failure. And we're going to take it from here. Who of you are with us, and how can you help us? And who of you are going to be a problem? That's how it's going to work, not the other way around. I honestly and truly think that enough people now have the effect that they can have a cooler heads will prevail type effect on everyone, and we're not going to go off and go crazy. Certain population segments might, but overall I think we're ready for what's coming, and we're ready to get on to the next step.
That's what I'm hoping, man. And now here's the thing. When the old system fails, what's gonna come out of the ashes? Well, it's going to be whatever that was going simultaneously that was working, and people are going to say, okay, well, this crap is failing, but hey, these guys got this community farm going, and that seems to be working pretty well. Let's join them. And so that's what we got to do, really, is work on building out these solutions and running them simultaneously as this other system begins to take a dive. We have these other systems in place that are going to be growing exponentially, because as people leave the old system, they're going to be joining the new system, and that's kind of what I've seen in the Bitcoin, in the whole Bitcoin thing, is people saw, okay, well, they bailed out the bankers, fiat currency going wild, everyone starts joining Bitcoin. We need to get alternatives going for every segment of life, whether it's welfare, economics, business, jobs, immigration, everything. We got to work it out, provide the solutions, and as the old stuff fails...
Energy's got to spearhead it. That way you don't need to leave your home, 3D printer, all that good stuff. You're your own industry.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yo, here we go through the